The book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, who also did Tipping Point and Blink. Neat books. I started reading that book and I thought, well, you know, this is pretty useful for what we do with our assessments. And I put the title on, What Makes You Special? Now, up here in the North Country of Wisconsin, if you use the word special, you're looked at as some kind of out-of-towner, like from San Francisco, because you just don't talk about being special. One of the common phrases up here is pretty good for who you are. And, you know, not so much. Minnesota nice. All of these terms, pardon me, all of these terms are designed to help you stay in the middle of the population. Don't stray out too far, because that's dangerous. Gladwell and others, myself included, say, you know, this outlier, whatever or whoever this outlier is, that's where the real excitement is. That's what is not just a subjective, I'm special, and that's why I want you to buy my services, but this is a more objective estimation of who lies further away from the group than most other people. And then the second thing is that just kooky and odd, or is it indicative of some very special, very useful capability? If you think about how I like to interpret profiles, my simple law is start with the 9s and the 1s, because those are the most extreme outliers. And if they're there, start the conversation on what is it that is special about you that you get from being this extreme either way. Inequality, and see where the conversation goes from there. So don't be afraid of that book. Go read it, because it's a very nice work on what we're doing here. Now, I meant to scare you with this. I hope I'm succeeding. Don't show this to any of your clients, okay? But you need to be aware of this a touch. You know, we use the word outlier. Well, what are we really talking about? We're really talking about extremes in a distribution. I'll have to mute you all. I was listening for laughter. I didn't get it. Extremes in a distribution, outliers. Okay, here is this. They call that a skewed distribution, because there is this equilibrium, inequity, asymmetry. And the asymmetry seems to tail off somewhere out here in the ozone, far beyond what we can measure. Outliers, we can say statistically that anybody beyond this point is an outlier, because he or she occurs once in 1,000 times, once in 5,000, once in 10,000. That's good enough to be a statistical outlier. This looks like a bell curve. It looks like one I would draw freehand. However, it's not a bell curve, because if you look closely, this end of the curve is not equal to or symmetrical with the other side, the other end of the curve. So this is also a skewed distribution. So the outliers actually are further out on this scale, because the midpoint of this peak or distribution is closer to them, right? In other words, this is where most of the people are showing up on whatever the measure is. And so to be an outlier, you have to be out beyond here, and there are fewer of you in this space. Okay, don't even worry about all these things. This is what we teach in statistics class. We don't need it. But you do need to understand that we can get a picture of outliers by charting or graphing or looking at an experience or an experiential set of data. Now, some people never get over their concern about all those assumptions that I just showed you. We don't like to make them. We feel uncomfortable. Do I want to really use a generic norm and the hypothesis that this person would be good for this job? Oh, I don't know. Never mind the law. What I'm really concerned with is that I think that brings along with it too many question marks about population. So why don't I gather a special custom distribution from my own business, and then I can compare prospective candidates for a job to the best people doing the job in my business. I don't have to worry about too many assumptions. It's a very good way of staying with the data and helping your clients reach decisions. Nonetheless, there are ways of doing this where you don't have to make all of those distribution assumptions. And Cliff Williams was exceptional at building tools that did not need population assumptions. This is a quote from his D&I manual. Do I have to? I read it faster than you because I was done. No. Behavior for managerial effectiveness. Rather than the varied abilities and motives that produce behavior, in other words, let's get away from that soft, spooky stuff that you assume about, and let's get more directly to the relationship that exists between effective managers and behavior change. Okay. So now we're going to take we're taking a change in direction away from the things that we have been doing, which have been linked to theories and abstract systems, concepts, and we're going into an individual assessment that's going to come from data, directly from data. It's the nicest picture I could find about the D&I 360. Had colors. The D&I 360 gets drawn in different ways because they will decide that the customers of this individual should be part of this 360 review. Some put some other representation of where the data should come from. This is the most typical, which is that you in the center are being evaluated by who's supervising you, your managers, who are your fellow workers in the same level, and who are the people who are reporting to you. Actually, this other, that reminds me of an academic evaluation I once suffered. There is no other in this model. Over here, other really refers to how you judge yourself. So it's me judging me, my boss judging me, my fellow coworker judging me, my direct report judging me. Okay? And of course, I saw it as a target because I was probably thinking about targets that day. But I could also call it a bullseye, because you could say that what you're trying to do is get the sharpest image of this individual in the middle. And the sharpest image will come from these other sources of evidence. Seems reasonable?